December 16th is the Sunday before the big event that we've been thinking about for years now, December 21st, 2012. So we are leading up to something, and December 16th is our day here at Unity to celebrate that, focus on it to the maximum. These Sundays leading up to that time of year, all over the country, all over the world, have been called Advent, traditionally. Advent. Unity tends to not focus on Advent so much as other churches do, because why? Why is that? Well, maybe it's because we felt like the fundamentalists have Jesus in their hip pocket and are saying that this coming of the second coming, or what happened in the first coming, is like something that is for a chosen few. At Unity, we don't think that way. We have a whole different view that's about oneness and this whole planet and our humanity coming into oneness. So maybe that's why we've de-emphasized this focus on the Advent, and yet this year, of all years, I think that our focus on preparing the way, preparing the holy way, is definitely worth focusing on. How are we preparing our lives during this amazing time that we've chosen to be here, to be walking in the holy, holy way? Today I want to be with you in this thinking of who we are as we're walking this path apart. And so I've asked David to lead us in singing one of our favorite songs, Holy, Holy Way, that comes from Agape Church in LA. And the feeling I had about it as I was thinking about it was, I was remembering that something I learned from my childhood when I was taught the Christian scriptures was that when the new way was opened up 2,000 years ago, they say by the events of Jesus' life, that when he died, the curtain in the temple was torn from the top to the bottom. Did you ever hear that before? So some big hands of heaven had to have torn it from the top to the bottom. And I fantasized about having a big piece of cloth here today and having us see what that would be like to tear it, but I couldn't find one. So. But to just imagine together that we're living in a similar time when the barrier that has been between us and the holy, holy way, the place of the Holy of Holies, is being torn from top to bottom, and we're walking in. Well, I'll start with a Rumi poem for us inner children, adults. Rumi, don't you just love Rumi? He's really an ancient but modern voice that speaks to our times. So he says in this poem, don't worry about saving those beautiful songs. And if one of our instruments breaks, it doesn't matter. Instruments here, it actually has a double meaning. It says that it also means the word for hands that are grasping something. So if one of our instruments breaks, one of the ways that we're grasping onto things breaks, it doesn't matter. We are falling into the place where everything is music now. The strumming and the flute notes rise into the atmosphere, and even if the whole world's harp should burn up, there will still be hidden instruments playing. So the candle flickers and goes out. We have a piece of flint and a spark. This singing art is like sea foam. The graceful movements come from a pearl somewhere on the ocean floor. Poems reach up like the edge of driftwood along the beach, wanting and wanting. They derive from a slow and powerful root that we cannot see. Stop your words and your thoughts now. Open the window in the center of your chest and let the spirits fly in and out. Stop your words and thoughts now. Open the window in the center of your chest and let the spirits fly in and out. I want to talk to you today about the heart. That's what I think we hear there. Open the window in the center of your chest. The heart. The heart is something that we might not focus as much on in unity because we're lots of times focusing on our thoughts, and our thoughts creating reality and changing our thoughts to change our life. But today our focus is going to be on the center of our soul, the center of our chest, the heart, and how we are being called upon at this time on the planet to find out what it really means to walk a path of heart. So our next song is about being gentle with ourselves, being kind to ourselves, and really tuning in to our feelings, all of our feelings, whatever feelings we might be having in any particular moment, but especially at this momentous time. So in order to be with our hearts, we've got to slow down and be gentle with ourselves. So that, you are a very, very special being. It's said of masters and avatar beings of the past that they choose the time that they come and they choose the time that they go. It was said about Jesus that way, that he chose his exact hour. It was prophesied through all the centuries when he would come, and he chose the hour of his going. It wasn't, he said, you're not choosing it for me. I could call 10,000 angels right now to me if I wanted this not to happen. But this is my hour for departing. You too are a very special being. You have chosen your hour of arrival here. And you will choose your moment of departure. But what we are learning is that we truly are nobly born ones. Everyone is. Everyone on planet Earth is a nobly born one. And when I stood by dear Paul's body on last Sunday, I chose not to come here and be with you because I was blessed with having Reverend Ruth speak, so I had thought to come anyway, but I went instead because Paul died. And I went to stand there with all the others that were gathered by his body and to say the prayers from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which say, O nobly born one, O child of the light, remember who you are and go toward the light now. Go toward the light. So you are nobly born ones, and anytime that we talk about the advent, the coming of a birth, it just implies naturally that we're also talking about the death of something. When something new comes, something old is leaving. So at birth, we come here from the other side. And at death, we go to the other side. So Advent implies a change in state of consciousness, doesn't it? A shift in consciousness, if you will. A shift in who we know ourselves to be. Well, what's happening on planet Earth right now is bringing us a big shift in consciousness. It's an advent for the whole human race. Some might call it the second coming of the Christ consciousness, the long-awaited moment. And I want to say to you, congratulations. Congratulations. Because you are among a select group of souls who won the lottery to be here on Earth, on this planet at this time. All of the universe, they say, might be looking on to this little planet right now because something amazing is happening here. The prize of winning that lottery not only assures you that you have a front row seat, but you have also got the unique opportunity to co-create the future of the human race. Your contribution, along with that of other awakened souls all over the planet, is going to create the blueprint which will influence those who come after us. They say for how long? For the next 26,000-year cycle. Don't get nervous.
No pressure.
No pressure. Don't be overwhelmed. Because you're only here because you are who you are. And you've been practicing for this moment for many lifetimes, I believe. And this is the moment that you've been preparing for, the graduation exercises. This is the time to remember who we are. This is the time to walk what the ancients have called the path of heart. So today, yes, I want to talk to you about your heart, the seat of your soul. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that it was said in the ancient scriptures that in times of old, the pathway was written on tablets of stone so that people could read them, and they were there as the Ten Commandments or whatever other codes there were in our societies outside of ourselves, to be read to us and told to us, sometimes by religious authorities or even by government or kings. But now, the way, the pathway, is written not on tablets of stone, but in your heart of flesh. What does this mean? For centuries, poets like Rumi and philosophers have sensed that the heart is the very center of human life. Throughout the ages, the heart has been referred to as a source not only of virtue, but also of intelligence. Even today we hear phrases like, I know in my heart it's true. Have you ever said that? I know in my heart it's true. Even our gestures indicate the importance of the heart. When we say myself, we tend to go like that, right? To point to our heart. So just to think about the heart biologically for a minute in praise of it. It's an amazing phenomenon because it beats faithfully 100,000 times a day, it's said. Approximately 40 million times a year. It starts to form biologically in us, in the fetus, before our brain. Did you know that? The heart is the first thing that starts to grow. Scientists still don't know exactly what triggers the self-initiated heartbeat to start beating in the womb. Currently, some of the most revolutionary research on the heart is being done by the Institute of Heart Math. You've heard of that, haven't you? Institute of Heart Math. I was privileged to listen to and to meet Howard Martin, who's one of the co-founders of the Institute of Heart Math, at the Unity Convention. He was one of the keynote speakers there. And then he was at the Shift Network where I went to. So he's worked with this neuroscientist called Dr. Armour. Interesting, it's similar to amour, love. Neuroscientist Dr. Armour made this exciting discovery that the heart has its own intrinsic brain and nervous system. Did you know that? Have you heard that? That the brain in our head is actually dutifully obeying messages from the heart, the brain and the heart. Every beat of our heart carries intricate messages that affect our emotions, our physical health, and the quality of the life we experience. The Institute of Heart Math studies have found a critical link between the heart and our emotions, too. The studies explain how the heart responds to emotional and mental reactions. So, for example, as we experience anger, frustration, anxiety, insecurity, fear, all those kinds of things, the heart's rhythm actually becomes what they've been able to map as incoherent, jagged like this. Thus, negative emotions create a chain reaction in the body. The blood vessels constrict, the blood pressure rises, and the immune system gets weakened. This kind of consistent imbalance can put a strain on the heart and on the other organs and eventually lead to serious health problems. So the heart is very important, what we feel and experience in our heart. When we feel heartfelt, what's called heartfelt emotions, like love, caring, appreciation, compassion, the heart produces coherent, smooth lines, harmonious lines. They've been able to look at this in a machine, you know. So positive heart qualities produce harmonious rhythms that are considered to be indicators of cardiovascular efficiency and nervous system balance. So the ability of this brain in the head to process information and make clear decisions is affected by how we react emotionally in any given situation. Do you hear what I'm saying? Our ability to think clearly is affected by our emotions and by the signals that our heart, the brain in our heart, is sending to our mind. So how intelligent we are is actually first coming from our heart. That's the point of it. So to increase our emotional balance and our heart-brain coherence, we may well be surprised by new levels of mental clarity that come to us, new productivity, new physical energy, and an overall better attitude when we start having these emotions of love, compassion, peace fill our hearts. At the Institute of Heart Math, they've shown that the heart is like the control tower of our body, and it connects us more deeply so that we can feel more deeply and then know more clearly. What do you think about that? The heart being the control tower for everything that happens. It reminds me of when we've talked about Mary of Magdala, Mary Magdalene. That word Magdala means high tower. So that made me think that Mary Magdala was maybe the heart, the guiding system of what was happening there with Jesus and the disciples and all that went on. She was called the high tower. As Rumi says, the path of heart is not learned in our typical ways, in our typical school systems. Rumi says our world system is upside down, but it's about to be turned right side up. I think we're living in times when potentially the world is about to be turned right side up. A shift is happening that has to do with our hearts. We're leaving the era that's been ruled by the whole mentality that it's outside of ourselves, the power, that the king is ruling, that there's a monarchy of special people, that there are movie stars or ones out there that we have to admire, or gurus, or somebody out there that's going to tell us what we have to feel and what we have to know. It's all shifting now. The control tower we're realizing is within us, and we're entering the era of the lover, of God as mother, lover of our souls. So each day is a gift of love. Remember that Mary Oliver poem, what will you do with your one precious life? What will you do with your one precious life that happens to be being alive right at this time on the planet? The Hopi prophets said about this time on the planet, our long-lost brothers and sisters will return, and when they do, will there be anyone who is a one-hearted being left on the planet? One-hearted being. Martin Heidegger, have you ever heard of him? He was a theologian that I studied in seminary, who I really liked, and he, in 1954, wrote a book called The Turning, back then in 1954, and he said, with this turning, the truth of the coming to presence of being will expressly turn homeward into whatever is. So way back then he was saying that at this time of the turning, the great turning, that our coming to presence of our being with a capital B, coming to understand who we are, will expressly turn in, a movement that will turn inward into whatever is. Well, on December 21st, 2012, the Mayans tell us that we are completing the last phase of the world known as the fourth sun. So they're telling us, and then there are people all over the planet talking about that there is some kind of ending coming along with this birthing. They're telling us that we're in the final death throes of an old world, an old way of being on planet Earth, and that we're getting ready for a birth into something entirely new and different. So might it be that this old myth that's dying, this old story that's dying, is the two-hearted way of being, right? The two-hearted way. The way in which we're not like this and not like that, and those people out there are wrong and they're doing something bad to us, and the two-hearted way of being. For the first time in 26,000 years, our sun and the earth and all of the planets in our solar system are going to be aligned with the passageway called the Dark Rift in our galactic system, the Milky Way. The Dark Rift is also called by the Mayans the Dark Road, and it's an actual physical thing. It's a dark meteorite path that actually exists out there. It's not just something being made up. And it leads us, as we follow it in our solar system alignment, to the heart of the Milky Way galaxy, to the heart of the mother of us all. The Mayan and many other ancient peoples like the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, Aztecs, all observed that the heavens at night told us messages. And they knew a lot about the stars. And they talked about the center of the Milky Way galaxy as being the great heart of the mother, Isis, the great serpent Quetzalcoatl. So the great heart, the great mother, the great serpent, all of these are synonymous with the great powers of death and rebirth and the essential ingredients of transformation that we experience in our universe. The dark rift is seen as a symbol of both the open vagina of the mother and the gaping mouth of the serpent. The message is that this portal through which we and the earth are being born is also the portal through which we shall exit. One of the more beautiful theories that I've heard recently as to what might happen during this time is that the center of our earth is not actually molten rock and lava, but it's really crystalline and in a plasmic crystalline state, always being affected, like our hearts. That at the core of the earth there's actually a heart. And that as these changes take place, that the rays from the heart of the Great Mother, the second sun at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, are going to be shining directly on us in a way that they haven't been able to in all of these thousands of years, and that it's going to touch the heart of the earth and that plasma at the center of the earth, and that this is going to do something magnificent, that it's going to unleash these energies of love and of vibration that we have never felt in recorded history, and that we're going to feel it in the center of our beings, in our hearts. Our hearts are going to be ignited, in other words, by the heart of the mother. Wow. This magnificent energy will open us and ease our passage along the dark rift until we fully enter the union of the mystery that is about to take place. As I said before, indigenous peoples of the earth call this galactic center the heart of the mother. So everything that's happening right now could be looked at as a huge adventure into traveling to the center of the heart of the matter. It was through this exact passageway that great shamans and priests and priestesses and religions of old would go to bring back insights and wisdom for the healing of their peoples. This dark rift is the portal to other multidimensional realities, parallel universes, the void, the place of nothingness, the ocean of all possibilities. In the past, it was accessible only to elite meditators or advanced shamans. But yet now, in this extraordinary time, we are the ones who are stepping outside of all of our limiting belief patterns and rekindling our innocence and our joy and believing that maybe it's possible that everyone on earth could come into a one-hearted place, into a harmonization of our heartbeat. One of the most important moments of my life was when my daughter Nisha was a senior in high school, and she had been living here all through her high school years. And she was in a theater troupe that was organized by Planned Parenthood, teen theater. Maybe some of you have seen them perform. And she had struggled through her life because she's born of me, but a child of color. She's mixed race. And being here in this town, just look around for a minute here. There's no mixed race people. I mean, we're all mixed race in a sense, which is what she's come to, you know. We're all of many mixes, but she was a dark-skinned one. And so in her senior year, she was determined to do something, to accomplish something that would heal the wound in her that had had her feeling separate and alone. And so in her play group, Teen Theater, the director asked her to write a play that would express her feelings, her sentiments about, the topic was growing up brown in a white town. So maybe some of you were there. It was performed on Martin Luther King Day in the Armory. You know, like about 500 people are there. And Nisha explored the topic. You know, like she looked at how in certain circles kids had laughed at her and excluded her. And even when she went to apply for college applications, it had said, check one box, Asian Pacific, Native American, African American, white. And she's like, I don't fit in one box. So she had the play like throw out all the boxes, you know. And then it led up to the moment of healing and reconciliation, and all the kids that had played the various parts that had, you know, not been in unification, got up and they recited this beautiful poem together that culminated in, and we are all one in the beating of our hearts. Can't you hear it? Can't you hear it? And then they went boom, 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 boom. And they took a hold of hands with each other, and everybody in the audience spontaneously stood up and took a hold of hands, boom, 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 boom. And everybody was crying and feeling that oneness, you know. And I was so proud of Nisha for having worked it all the way through, you know, to that one-hearted place. That's what we're here to do. You know, whatever the wounds that we've had, whatever the divisions that we have felt, we're here to go into our hearts now and to make amends, to forgive one another, forgive ourselves, and to come into this one-hearted place. It's a great opportunity, a window of opportunity, a window that's opening in our hearts on this planet. The Mayan calendar says that the window has been opening since 1987. That was the harmonic convergence, remember? And it will be open, this window, until 2023. So we have these 30 years or so when the window of our hearts is somehow being thrown open as we align with the heart of the Mother. So talk about an advent of advents, this thing that we've been awaiting for thousands of years is happening. A Christmas beyond all Christmases, a solstice of all solstices. What an amazing time to be alive. The quality of this dawning era of the fifth sun is said to be like what the alchemists call ether. Have you ever studied alchemy and heard what ether is? Ether is the coming together of the fire, the air, the earth, the water. All four elements of what everything consists of on earth, even our bodies. In the time of the fifth sun, four elements will all come together and form the ether. And the ether, I think, is what Starhawk was talking about in her book, The Fifth Sacred Thing, which was a prophetic book about these end times that we're perhaps living in. And she said that the fifth sacred thing would come, and it would heal the hearts of humanity, heal the wounds in the twinkling of an eye, but that we would have to stand with one another in our hearts and encourage one another to take the leaps of love and the leaps of faith that would take us into this ether, this spirit time, in which all of the elements and all of the dualities collapse into unification, and we find ourselves miraculously one, feeling the oneness with one another. I was just at the Bioneers recently, and I got to be with one of my heroines, Genevieve Vaughn. Does anybody know who she is? She's an older woman now in her 80s, and she, in the 70s and 80s, she was a woman of great wealth, and she found ways to create something like the Grameen Bank, where she empowered women's projects all over the world. And recently she's written a book called Matriarchal Culture and the Gifting Economy. And she talks about how on planet Earth we have known times of being in a whole different heart space, when we're not giving tit for tat, like I'll give you this if you give me that, but a gifting economy that's entirely different than that, that goes beyond our wildest imaginations in a way, to be in an open-hearted space of giving and giving and receiving and receiving. When I lived in Japan, I had the experience of living in a gifting economy. It's very different there. Maybe because it's an island of people who've lived together for many centuries, but they really live a gifting way. So I had this strange experience when I was over there visiting when Nisha was 5. We were all alone, the two of us, and we went to this city where there were many temples to sightsee. And it started to rain, and we were alone, and we went into a restaurant. And while we were in the restaurant, this nice couple was sitting next to us, and they started talking to us and befriending us. And at the end of our talk, they offered to give us a ride to our hotel, which was quite a long ways from there. And we're like, wow, thank you, thank you. And the couple gave us a ride to our hotel. The next morning, they called us. Do you have a ride to the train station? No, we don't. Well, thank you so much. They came all the way, gave us a ride to the train station. As they dropped us off at the train station, they said, when are you leaving Japan to go on the airport back to your country? And we told them the date, which was about a week away. And they said, well, what time? So when we got to the airport a week later, they were there. The airport takes hours and hours to get to outside of Tokyo. It's a long trip. This was a couple we didn't even know. They were at the airport, and they had wonderful gifts for us, expensive, beautiful gifts to give us so that we would always remember Japan and remember what it was all about there. Well, years later, I was traveling myself down I-5, coming back from seeing Nisha and Eugene, and I stopped at a rest stop along the way, and for some reason I happened to be thinking about being gifted in that way as I was traveling. And at the rest stop there were this young couple with little children, and they had a sign that said, we don't have any money, we've lost our jobs. And I thought, wow, that's pretty brave of them to come out here and be here at the rest stop. So I talked to them a little bit and found out their story. And then I wished them well, and I went back to my car and was getting ready to drive away, and I felt this speaking to my heart. And in my heart I heard, told to me, I had a $100 bill in my wallet, and I felt spirit, ether saying, give them the $100 bill. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's a lot. Like, couldn't I give them something else? No. Remember what was given to you in Japan. Give them the $100 bill. So I walked out, and I folded it up in my hand, and I walked up to the man, and I took a hold of his hand and held his hand, and I said, God bless your lives. I see you prospering and doing well, finding jobs, and bless you. And then I walked away, and then he looked at it, and he started screaming at the top of his lungs, and he grabbed his wife and started jumping up and down, and they picked up their children and started dancing around and laughing. And then they ran after me, and they said, thank you, you've changed our lives, now we can believe in ourselves again. So there are places that we can go in our hearts that we haven't yet been. There are many places I know that I can yet open up in my heart that I haven't yet been. And that's the kind of times that we're living in. That's what's happening now as we come into alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, the great heart of the Mother. We're going to be expanding in our hearts and letting go of whatever we've been hanging on to and ways that we thought we had to protect ourselves, and opening in a much greater way to be the ones that are bringing through this new time, this Christ consciousness in our day. My heart is getting touched. That's good. Oh. In the spirit of prayer right now, I'd like to say this prayer for us, and it's called a leap time blessing. Leap time blessing. So if you'd like to close your eyes, make this your prayer, and I'll say it in the I. Wherever I look, I choose to take the leap. I open my heart and mind to the greater possibility that is within me, waiting for me to say yes to it. I have opened my mind and my heart to believe that the infinite creative source of this universe is in me, and that it will take this vision from divine inspiration to divine form in my lifetime. I choose to let myself be drawn by the deeper and deeper love within me, the love of what my heart, my soul truly desires. I let go now of my small-mindedness, of my outdated ways of being and models, and I let the beginner's mind be vitally alive in me now. I perceive and feel the presence of God in all things. I lovingly surrender to what is so right now. Without having to rush off and change things or make them different, I just rest. And I see the presence of my beloved in everything. I woo and I court this experience. I use all the spiritual tools at my disposal to open my heart even more than I once thought was possible. From this heightened state of consciousness, I choose to commit to my greater vision for my life, my one precious life. And I choose to commit to my vision for my service to my community and my world. I'm not going to hold back anymore. I already know where it leads, and I take the leap in absolute trust, knowing that my heart is open and ready for the guest, the beloved, to come in. My mind is clear, and my heart is receptive to the awakened awareness of myself as God, as Spirit, as divine. And in this knowing, I experience the eternal life within me, the immortal. So the Alpha and the Omega come together, the birthing and the deathing, the beginning and the end, and I can see with absolute clarity that I am love, and that I can bless everyone whose life I encounter, that I have so much to give. And I give thanks for the majesty of each moment that my noble self, the self that I know to be love, is a powerful blessing to this world. And so it is. Amen. Isn't that a beautiful commitment and prayer? I'll put it on our Unity website so that you can have a copy of it and you can say that to yourself over and over again. We still have some time, and so I'd like to have us do something that is, we did this a few years ago at Unity, but it seems like a really appropriate exercise to take this on home. And it comes from one of my other heroines, Joanna Macy's work. And she calls it the work that reconnects. The work that reconnects us with our hearts. And so what it requires is for you to get with one other person. And I'd encourage you to mix it up a little bit, like maybe sit by somebody that you don't know, and I'm going to lead you through a short guided meditation that has to do with being with this one other person. Move yourselves around a little bit and get so everybody's got with one person. So, I don't know if you've ever looked at this particular person before, this right here before you, but this is a very special being that you're sitting across from. You know, sometimes we're sitting in a cafe, or we're sitting on a train or a bus somewhere, we glance at the people around us, and you know, sometimes we catch somebody's eye, and just a glance is enough to exchange the energy of the heart. Smile, glance. And so it's with that kind of glance of exchanging the energy of the heart that you're going to be glancing at this person that's across from you right here. This is an opportunity to give some love and receive some love in the way that I'll guide you to right here. It's like a meditation in action. You know, it's not only doing a meditation, but you're actually giving and receiving something. Something's being accomplished here. So, yes, you're going to be gazing at one another. I know that's a little uncomfortable sometimes, but go ahead. Turn toward each other and just look at each other's face. Beautiful face, eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths and tell yourself you can relax. You can relax into this. Now, if my daughter were here, she'd say, "Oh, Mom, why are you having us do this eye gazing thing?" Okay? So we're taking a little leap here, a leap of the heart, you know. Take a couple of deep breaths and center yourself. Center yourself in your own heart. Feel the discomfort and the urge to laugh or look away or, you know, feel a little odd about this. It's okay. And then gently and with patience, return your attention to the living presence of this being sitting next to you. He or she is unique. Different from anyone else who has ever lived on this planet or ever will live. A unique snowflake of beauty, if you will. So behold this person and open your awareness to the powers that are there, to their gifts and strengths and potentialities. In this being are immeasurable reserves of courage and intelligence, of patience and endurance and wisdom. There are gifts in this person that she or he himself may not even be aware of, and you're seeing them right now. Consider what these powers could do for the healing of our planet if they were to be believed and acted upon. As you consider that, feel your desire that this person be free from fear. Experience how much you want this person to be free from fear. Free from any sense of lack. Released from any ill feelings towards another, any hatred. Released from grief. Released from sorrow and the causes of suffering. And know that you are now experiencing the metta love, the great loving kindness of the heart of the mother, wanting this person to be free of their suffering. And now as you behold this person, open your awareness to the pain that they have known. Let your heart feel some of the sorrows, the disappointments, the failures and the losses, the loneliness or the abuse that this person may have felt. Can your heart be open to feeling this too? The hurts this person may never have even told another human being. As you open to their suffering in this moment, you know you cannot just remove it. You're not that powerful. But you know what you can do? You can be with it. As you experience your readiness and willingness to be with the pain of another, Know that what you are experiencing is the great compassion, the heart of the mother. It is excellent for the healing of this world to feel this great compassion. And now breathe deeply and take in the presence of this person for this last round. As you look at them, consider how good it might be to work together on a joint project towards a common goal. Imagine what it would be like planning and conspiring and taking risks together, each helping the other one to find their strength and their creativity, celebrating the successes, consoling each other over the setbacks, forgiving each other when you make mistakes, and simply being there for each other through it all. And as you open to that possibility, what you open to is the great wealth, the pleasure in each other's powers, the joy in each other's joy. Lastly, let your awareness now drop deep within you like a stone and close your eyes, sinking below the level of what words can express, down there into the vast currents of your heart and of relationship that underlie all experience. Drop down into the web of life that supports and interweaves our lives through all space and time. And just feel the presence of this person that you're sitting there with, who at another time or place on this planet may have been your lover. They may have been your enemy. They may have been your parent. May have been your child. And now here you meet again on this brink of time. And you know that your lives are as inextricably interwoven as the nerve cells in the mind of the Great Mother. Out of this vast net you cannot fall. And now open your eyes and look at this being again. And realize that you're in this great web together. That no stupidity or failure or cowardice can ever sever you from this living web that's present right here between you. Rest in the knowing that this is the great peace. Out of it you can act. Yes, you can risk. You can risk anything. There's so much love in this knowing. Now let every encounter be a homecoming to your true nature as this encounter has been. Let every encounter be a homecoming to your heart. Indeed, it is so. And so it is. Now thank the person. Thank you so much for going there, for enacting